Happy Valentine's Day, Aram.
Uh, oh yeah, it is. It is Valentine's Day. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we each other's Valentine?
Uh,
I've got a Valentine, actually. I'm sorry.
no, well, can't you have different like subsections of Valentines?
You're my work Valentine.
Yes, there
Does
we
that
go.
work?
Yeah.
All right. Just baseball show. Today is Monday, February 14th. Jack McMullen, Aram Layton drinking Jack's coffee right now. What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm recycling the joke I already gave at you before we recorded. And I was saying, I was wondering why it was so mid.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah.
Oh, well, though. I've got
Yeah,
my,
I go every day. I go every day, by the way. So
do
it's
you?
good. It's good coffee. Jack's coffee.
I've got my Teletrack Navman mug with my coffee. We're recording pre-Super Bowl. We're recording at 10:30 a.m. because we did not want to record after the Super Bowl because I think you and I are both going to have a couple of libations and just enjoy the game.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna have any beers with the football game today. And then everybody around you is getting into it, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do it. So I know it's gonna happen, and I want to be able to record a good episode. We owe the people a little bit more than a buzzed episode. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Now we're just doing
instead
like
you get a tired.
episode.
You get a tired morning episode where the coffee might start to hit 10 minutes in. You'll realize like, oh, Aram sounds a little happier now.
Yeah, we're going to start bringing the juice a little bit. That'll be good.
Yeah, just it'll ease in.
Perfect. What I like about the Super Bowl and also what I don't like about the Super Bowl, I love the non-football aspect of the Super Bowl. Like halftime show, I always enjoy, but the commercials is really what I enjoy because like everybody's pulling out the stops. But what I don't like about the Super Bowl is it is 3.5 hours of intent viewing. Like it is, you cannot take your eyes off the screen because the football, obviously you want to watch. That's what you tune in for. But then when they go to break, that's usually when I like mentally disconnect for a moment. But
yeah,
my attention almost becomes more fine on the product on TV.
no, it's funny. I have my automatic sequence now for the most part, which is when I'm watching a sport game or whatever it is, like whatever the sporting event is. I'm going to watch the game while it's on, and then it goes to commercial break. And that's where I pull out the phone because we have attention spans of 10 seconds. And that's where I'm going to start ripping off Bryson Stott's winning NL Rookie of the Year and send that to you just to see what you say. Yeah. And then once you reply, if the game's back on, I'm not replying. I'm back locked in on the game. And then, we'll keep the cycle going. But yeah, during the Super Bowl, the commercials are relevant. I don't really care though. Is that crazy? I don't care about
crazy.
I don't care about the commercials. I get it. Like it's one of the things that everybody talks about. I just find them, commercials to me, I think are some of the worst put together things that we have as a human species. Like I just think they are the standard is so low. They could be so much better. 99% of them suck. And the Super Bowl commercials are just an extreme example of that. So the 1% are like bangers. They're great. The ones that are bad are like so freaking bad. They're like extra cringy, try too hard, all that stuff. That's kind of where I'm at on Super Bowl commercials.
Historically, though, the E-Trade baby has always delivered. And I've seen this like almost spoiler. I've seen this spoiler from E-Trade where they're dialing in like this top secret agent. And then at the end of the commercial, they show the baby monitor here. So I think the E-Trade baby's coming back.
So you're watching trailers to commercials for the Super Bowl.
Well, trailers that were packaged as commercials for commercials to come. Like, you know how Bud Light was doing that? It's like, tune in for the Super Bowl to see the big finale, like that type of shit.
Oh, gosh.
Fansville, Dr. Pepper, you always wait for the new Fansville commercial.
Oh, I'm always eagerly. I'm on the edge of my seat. That's a great example of how commercials suck. Yes. Is right there. That one right there.
Correct. And then they decided to target DJ Uiagalelei, who turns out to suck.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about baseball. Lockout update here. I didn't want this to be an I told you so update, but like it's turning into an I told you so update where you were firm on baseball playing 162 games. I said no chance in hell. And after Saturday, does your mind waver a little bit or no?
No. I actually thought Saturday was okay. Well, I don't know. What were we expecting from Saturday? We saw the owners give a little bit. It wasn't great. But I was reading up. I was just genuinely curious on what the reception was, because at the end of the day, that's the biggest indicator too.
Yeah.
And Jason Stark had some really good thoughts on it too. He said on the surface it might seem like this is really bad, but players are not as, and John Heyman said the same thing. Players were not as disappointed as they thought they would be. So I know the owners set the bar really low for themselves, but at least Saturday was a step forward. How large of a step forward? I mean, that we'd have to be on the inside to know. But the players are taking that offer back and going over all of it. So it wasn't like this instant vehement rejection. So I think there's some good things. They bumped everything up a little bit. The owners did. So we're heading in that direction a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not great. But I still think that this was better than where we were Friday night.
Yeah. If you want a legitimate assessment of how the lockout negotiations are going, I highly recommend you do not go to Twitter for that assessment.
No.
Like, Twitter is not the place for that assessment, because you've got guys saying, this is total bullshit, we're getting screwed. And then like you've got the other side present too. And those usually don't have like, faces as avatars. But go read like Jason Stark or Heyman when he puts together the article, or even Bob Nightingale on USA Today. Like, go read it legitimately published pieces on how the conversations are going, because that's how you're going to get the most transparent view of how each side is viewing this. Exactly.
And especially because so much of it is strategic PR leaks from the owner's side, players being very vocal, even if there is progress being made, frustration from players is going to like give off a different kind of vibe. I think the best way to do it is going to those. Jason Stark, for example, is going to do everything in his power, such an experienced journalist, to make sure that he's not being manipulated by strategic PR drops by the owners and things like that. He's not going to just be a shill, and that's why I think it's great to read the Starks and the Heymans, who for the most part do everything they can to give the fans legit just what the breakdown is of the situation. What I will say though is seeing some of the tweets in quotes from Rob Manfred made me dig back even more. There was one from Rob Manfred. There was another from, I believe it was just one of the other attorneys that's representing MLB. And I was like, this has to be out of context. Like these are such bad quotes, the two of them, that I had to dig back and go look at the full context, and it wasn't any better. You know what I'm talking about, Jack. The one being Rob Manfred saying owning a Major League Baseball team is not that profitable, and it's not much better than having stock in the stock market. And then the other one was that it doesn't make sense to pay minor leaguers in spring training because they're getting an opportunity.
Yeah.
That one was even worse. And yeah, we probably got something to unpack on that.
Yeah, we can. You and I have both done many unpaid internships, and it sucks so bad.
Yeah.
I never want other people, like, it's almost like if you're in a frat and you get hazed during the pledging process, you want to haze other people because you just went through it. Here's the thing about unpaid internships. I don't want other people to go through unpaid internships.
No. And I never like understood the hazing thing, honestly. So it's kind of the same thing, but like I would never, unless it's a college credit situation or whatever it is, like, yeah. And the problem is a lot of times it's not like what the job description is and all that stuff, but that's a whole different thing. But it is a perfect example because it's like, these are some of the best players in the world of baseball, right? Like a lot of these guys, I mean, this would be like Bobby Witt. Yeah. Does he need the money? No. But if you're getting invited to spring training, like you should be paid for your time. There's a lot of quadruple A guys trying to crack a big league roster at spring training. That's the whole point of having the invitees at spring training for the big leagues. And they might not make it. So they deserve to make money during that time as they're fighting for a spot to potentially make the big league roster. I saw a great tweet, which was a player just saying, yeah, tried to pay with an opportunity at the grocery store. They didn't accept it. I'll keep you posted. Like that's exactly like everything you need to know about the situation.
Yeah. And another tweet that I saw was from Casey Sadler. Did you see any of this? Casey Sadler, who I believe Mariners reliever still, right?
Yeah,
or is
nasty.
So Casey Sadler is still pre-arbitration eligible, I want to say. He doesn't hit arbitration until he's 34 years old. That'll be 13 years after he was drafted. He was in and out of the bigs. I mean, he took 8 years to get to the bigs.
Yeah.
8 years. And
Yeah.
Casey Sadler, somebody recounted his story on Twitter, and he literally just quote tweeted it and said, from the outside, you think you could be fighting for, millionaires versus billionaires. You think that's what the lockout looks like. But in reality, I just want to make sure other people don't go through my situation.
Yeah.
Because my situation sucked because he was living paycheck to paycheck for 8 years before he got to the bigs. And now he can't get his payday until he's 13 years into his major league career. Well, into his professional baseball career. Like, that's what we're looking at here. And you're right. The whole you're getting paid an opportunity thing. I've done it. I have totally taken the bait on that and said, you're right. This is a wonderful opportunity. But at the end of the day, you got to get paid for work you're doing. And these guys, as much as they love it, it's still work. Like, it's their job. They work so hard. So what they love can be their job. Like, that's why we want to go into sports, right? That's why we grind the way we do, because we just want work to be fun. And like, that's what they're doing too. Again, a reminder that it's work and you have to get paid.
And here's the biggest part about it too, is people are like, oh, well, it's baseball or whatever. It takes up a ton of their time, right? I mean, you can't have another full-time job.
Their whole life.
It's their whole life. And they're not getting paid for when they're training, right? Like when you're training on your own and hitting in a cage and doing those things and working out, you're not getting paid for that, which you shouldn't be. But the point is, like, they're putting in a ton of work on their own. Whereas, when you're doing other things like work, like you're actually working for a company, if you're doing some extra work after you clock out, you're not getting paid for that either. So like it's similar to that, but those people are getting paid every hour that they're clocked in a real corporate world. The fact that baseball wants to have areas where it's like, oh yeah, from like 9 to 11, we're not going to pay you in February just because it doesn't make sense. But like we'll pay you most of the other time, not that well. Like, that's the other thing about it is these guys. I mean, it's paycheck to paycheck, week to week. We've bumped minor league salaries up a little bit, but that money makes a difference for a lot of these guys during spring training. That's why we're talking about it. What it boils down to the most to me, and the most defining aspect of it, is that it's nothing for MLB. But we can talk about tens and hundreds of millions being nothing here and there. Paying players, minor leaguers in spring training, which it wouldn't be that substantial for them in terms of how much money it would cost individually. It's a drop in the bucket inside of a drop in the bucket for Major League Baseball. Like, it's such a weird hill to die on for the league. And I don't really understand why they're doing it, because the money is almost irrelevant. It's almost like a power thing.
Here's the thing. These owners, if they went around once a day and handed each minor leaguer at minor league spring training a $100 bill, they wouldn't think twice about it. Like,
they'd be the equivalent of you and I giving a penny out. Less, probably.
Who cares? But it's the principle that fucks them up, and I don't understand why it's fucking them up, because they're just spoiled rich billionaires. And I think you become sorry, I've got my morning sneeze going on here. Let me cut this. They're spoiled rich billionaires and they become hoarders. Like, that's what these guys are. They hoard everything, and it doesn't do you any good to have $1 billion in your savings account. Like, what are you going to do? Trickle that down to your great grandkids?
Yeah. Here's the thing too, is they're successful because of this, right? Like, they're successful because of their ability to save in every single spot they can and be effective and be efficient and things like that. But when you own a Major League Baseball franchise too, I just think the things like that, like, those are some of the small things, the small gestures that you can make that make a huge difference. The Astros organization, again, they haven't done everything the best way ever all the time, but they ponied up and paid for, housing before everybody else did for their players. And it makes a big difference. I don't think it's a coincidence that they develop so much talent. So I think when you're looking at how little it is, like, I can understand owners pushing back from an owner's perspective on years of control or luxury tax, because at least, like, that's a ton of money. Like that is a lot of money. I still side with the players on that, but at least you can understand why the owners are pushing back, because it's like that's a substantial amount of money, even though it's not going to make or break them. It's a lot. When it comes to the minor league stuff, it blows my mind because that's literally it's negligible. And again, that's where it all comes down to like the power struggle and more of just, hey, we're in control here. What I will say is baseball, the owners bumped marginally the luxury tax, the CBT, and they also marginally bumped up that bonus pool for pre-arb players. So not as much as we'd like to see, but they did marginally bump both up. So we'll see how much the players give after that. And then, what meeting in the middle, quote unquote, looks like.
Yeah. And the owners are going to keep bumping up. The players are going to keep bumping down. And then all of a sudden we're going to get into this $20 million range here. And then I think they're going to agree on a number. So it's going to take many meetings, but I think the more meetings you have and the more bumps we have, like that's nice, just being nudged. So it might take 8 more meetings, but we'll get to a number. We will absolutely get to a number.
And I think we're seeing it a little bit, right? Like we're seeing the owners kind of wanting to test the players and see how much they'll give. And both sides are finally giving something. So we'll get there.
100%. Both sides are being stubborn. They're going to come to their heads at some point. We are going to talk about one of the changes that the owners have approved, and that is the draft lottery being put in place and draft pick compensation being changed, because more so than the NFL or the NBA, and we will compare it to the NFL and the NBA, the MLB draft is a crapshoot, whether it's the first overall pick, the top 5 picks, the first round, the 40th round. Like there is a major difference in skill and financial awareness with the MLB draft than the NFL and NBA draft. But before we get into the draft conversation, I do want to get political for like 2 to 3 minutes, if you let me.
Oh gosh. Like, is this one of those jokes where you're not actually going to get political?
No, I am.
Oh gosh. Oh no. All right. It was your birthday, by the way. I didn't bring this up. It was Jack's birthday 2 days ago. So
this is my birthday.
You can't wish Jack a happy birthday, I guess, because you're listening. It's a one-way situation here, but I'll just take it as, everyone's saying happy birthday to Jack right now. So Perfect. There you go. And I'm giving you imagine the awkward singing where you just got to sit there with your hands folded while everybody sings happy birthday to you as if it's like a good thing. You have to act like this is great. Thank you for this. So imagine that our listeners are singing happy birthday to you right now.
I got away with only hearing one song on Saturday, which was awesome. That was in person. So that's a lot better than over the phone. Like FaceTime and phone call, happy birthday, that song, like, oh man, hell. But I'll take this as my birthday present that you're letting me get political for like 2-3 minutes. Yeah. The White Sox organization required boosters for all of their minor league players. Okay, I'm for that. I'm boosted. What I'm not for whatsoever is the White Sox said if you refuse to comply, you will not be released from your contract. So you will be sitting here wasting away your years of development until your contract with the White Sox is over. They are going to blackball you from signing another minor league deal if you do not get the booster. So you're not going to play in the White Sox organization, and you can't play for somebody else if you're anti-vax. That's ridiculous.
That's crazy. They should at least just and I still think it would be ridiculous to release them, but you would have the ability to do that. At least give them an opportunity to go elsewhere. I actually didn't see that. That's absurd. Where was that? Where did that come out of?
Just search White Sox minor leaguers or White Sox booster.
Wow. Oh, and here's the interesting thing about the booster, without getting too deep into it. Like I was going to get it and then I got COVID. So now I've heard mixed things like, oh, like, do you get the booster yet? Like right after you got COVID, or like, you wait a little bit. And like my doctor told me wait a little bit. So it's like, there's a lot of unique situations for these guys. That's outrageous to me. Like holding players hostage. I thought you were going to be worse than that, Jack, when it comes to the political thing. I think that's a pretty unanimous, that's messed up type thing for these players.
Yeah. So here's the article from SI. This is the whole thing. It's very quick. And Mike McDaniel wrote it for SI. Mike McDaniel, not Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. Okay. Sports Illustrated writer Mike McDaniel. The White Sox are requiring all minor league players to receive COVID-19 booster vaccines before they report to spring training, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan. Major League Baseball is not requiring coronavirus vaccinations for minor leaguers in 2022. Chicago mandated COVID-19 vaccines for all minor leaguers last spring and had 100% compliance, according to Passan. So while this is not the first time the team has mandated the vaccine, the organization is the first in Major League Baseball to mandate the booster shot. The team released a statement to Passan on their decision on Friday night. The Chicago White Sox are requiring all of our employees to be up to date on their COVID-19 vaccination status, and this requirement extends to our minor league players as well, that statement said. We believe this is the right thing to do to protect the health and well-being of all of our players and staff across the organization. So the lead, I agree with. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with mandating the booster for those who can get it. Here's where it gets me. Chicago is not only requiring minor leaguers to show proof of the booster, but the organization will also refuse to release any player who declines to comply, per Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic.
So you're a hostage.
You are a hostage. It is literally get the booster or you're not playing and you can't play for anybody else. You can't even go to indie ball. You're just sitting there in purgatory. Yeah,
it's almost like, and it's funny because you see a lot of people. I feel like a lot of it sometimes when we see people fighting against a shot, like with Kyrie, it was called Kyrie the contrarian. Like I think if everybody was getting, if nobody was getting the shot, Kyrie would be first. He'd be first in line to get the shot.
Yeah.
But I can understand in this situation here. For me, I would get the booster in 2 seconds, and like once it makes sense for me to do it, I'm going to do it. The crazy thing about it to me is that almost the idea of going to get it because the White Sox are holding me hostage, almost to a degree, would make me uncomfortable. Like I'd still do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to make a big stink out of it, but I can understand a little bit the people that are like, I'm trying to just like stand up for myself a little bit. It's not a hill I would die on, but could you imagine going and getting the shot and you're like, I had no choice and putting that thing in. Yeah. Like it was this or my career. And like getting that jab, like it's fine to get the jab. And I think it's a good thing to push across your employees, but literally we will hold you hostage and run your career unless you do this is a crazy way to get your players to do it. And I feel like a lot of players are going to be going in there with that in the back of their mind. And it's kind of messed up.
It's super messed up. And like, here's the thing. I hate that I had to pull my political card on that. Like I hate that I had to burn that opportunity to get political on the Just Baseball show.
For you're done. You're done for like six to 8 months now.
Yeah, I know. But like, that just shouldn't be political. Like that is just like, I am pro-vax. However, I am anti-forcing people to get vaxxed or else their life and professional career is ruined.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take.
I think so.
I think that's 98% of people, though. At least I would hope.
Yeah, God. I mean,
there's a difference between like losing your job and we will hold you hostage. That's the difference. Like that's like they could even say we're going to release you. At least a player could say, all right, screw it, release me, and I'll go somewhere else. I'll go somewhere else. Because the team at the end of the day loses in that situation too, right? If it's a good player, they got to make that decision. That's fine. You're giving the player an opportunity elsewhere, and they can make the decision for themselves. But in the case where you're holding them hostage, yeah, they have no chance to go anywhere else. That doesn't really make sense. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a unanimous thing. I'm interested to see how the reception is to that. I haven't really been on Twitter since that story came out too much, so we'll have to check it out. But I do like that we have at least some adjustments to the draft process.
Yes, 100%. Nice transition there. Let's talk about the draft process here, because Major League Baseball, the owners and the Players Association agreed to adjust to a draft lottery to de-incentivize tanking, which is massive. Hopefully we don't see 52 and 110 Baltimore Orioles and Arizona Diamondbacks again, and hopefully they start bleeping trying.
Yeah.
How does it look?
I like it. I like it a lot because in terms of what that does, one, it's just another fun spectacle too. I was talking about this, I forget where. It was on my buddies at NL Feast. I hopped on the NL Feast podcast. Great guys over there. They do a good job. And we were just talking about this kind of side of things. And it's another spectacle. It won't be quite like Zion, and the lottery there. I mean, you remember the Pelican season ticket office.
Yeah, or like Pat Ewing, right? Like
right.
The video of Ewing.
Won't quite be like that. But it will be fun where the team that's fifth in the lottery has a shot at the number one pick. Like I think the lottery process, they're trying to make the draft more interesting. Clearly, they moved it to the middle of All-Star weekend now, or All-Star break for a reason. I think this helps with it. And also it de-incentivizes tanking, as we said. And at the end of the day, it's really not that much of a difference if you have the first pick or the third pick or the fifth pick most of the time, because MLB drafting in history is just such, it can be so hit or miss, obviously, like any sport can be, but baseball especially. And it's really about just how much draft capital you have in terms of your bonus pool, right? Because the earlier your picks are, the larger the slot value is, which means your cumulative pool is going to be bigger, which means you have more flexibility where you can underslot a guy here and give more money to a guy, overslot him in another round. It gives you more flexibility, but at the end of the day, you can get strategic in any draft spot. And I'm all for the lottery. I'm also for trading picks, and I don't know where that would fall into all of this too, but I am for that also.
Yeah, I'm for that too. That would be very fun. And the reality is, like, you're right. You add an event with the MLB draft lottery. And like, I really look forward to seeing robotic ass Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum twice a year. I look forward to watching the NBA draft lottery, and I look forward to watching the second round of the NBA draft. Because like, that's the only two times that I see Mark Tatum's face. And I just think that's beautiful. Like, if we have a draft lottery and you're a Baltimore Orioles fan and you've got nothing to hang your hat on in the 2021 season, you know, like what Cedric Mullins, I guess, is like what you enjoy watching. But like, even then you're still losing 10-3 on a Wednesday night. So like, if you have a chance to tune in for the draft lottery, that's a big thing. If you're an Orioles fan, if you suck, at least you have something to look forward to.
Yeah. And they'll probably argue like, well, I want the guaranteed number one pick. But here's the thing is you can root for your team to win. Even when you're 52 and 100, you can still root for your team to win in those games because you don't care about where you finish. Because I believe it would be the bottom three would all have the same probability, right? In terms of getting that first pick in the lottery, or at least the bottom two. Generally, that's how it works, or it's super close. You can root for your team to win and not be like, oh, this win does nothing for us. It only hurts our draft status. And I know I mentioned usually it doesn't matter what pick you have, but you do have those drafts where it's a consensus top, number one guy. And you mentioned this to me on the phone before we recorded yesterday. And it's a good point. Sometimes you do have that consensus number one guy, and that'll be a bit of a spectacle, right? With Spencer Torkelson, that would have been a bit of a spectacle, right? Who's getting Torque? Because you know who the number one pick is. If you look at some other drafts, it's not quite the case. 2017, Royce Lewis going 1, Hunter Green 2, it wouldn't matter as much, but it would just be a fun process. But it would be a big spectacle on the Torkelson or Adley type drafts where you have that consensus number one guy.
And that's the thing, right? Like with the NBA, like there's almost always this consensus number one guy. You talk about the Zion Williamson sweepstakes, but when you go with Anthony Edwards or Anthony Bennett, like those guys were not in the number one conversation. Like Nerlens Noel was in the number one conversation. He went 7th. Like that's the type of thing that you get some years, and that is unavoidable. I do want to walk through the last 5 drafts in terms of like notable picks within the top 10 and where they signed in terms of slot value, because you mentioned it was the Spencer Torkelson sweepstakes. He signed right at slot value. $8.42 million was his signing bonus. So that's 1-1 signing right at slot. Henry Davis this year signed for $1.9 million under slot. Pirates went under slot with the first overall pick. Adley Rutschman, ever so slightly under slot, like $300,000 under slot value, but we will just call that slot value because it really did feel like Adley Rutschman was the best player available in the draft in 2019.
Totally. I don't even know how that works, where they're able to knock him down 300K. I'm not sure. I mean, it was definitely for being able to overslot in other picks, but that's a funny one. I wonder how they were able to pull that one off.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And then Casey Mize, kind of same thing too. We had a feeling that Mize was going to go 1-1. He signed for $500,000 under slot. So do you just talk to Casey Mize and it's like, listen, you're getting $8 million. like, let's just ding you, $500,000. And you can save us elsewhere.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, it's not like basketball where it's like, oh, it's going to help us build a team to be better for when you get there. Like, does Casey Mize really care if they overslot a guy in the 5th round? Odds are, again, because it's a baseball MLB draft, it won't matter for the big league team at some point. And the odds of that guy playing for their team are more unlikely than likely. I always wonder how they're able to pull that off.
And then the previous 2 years before Mize was Royce Lewis and Mickey Moniak, both signed for north of $1 million under slot value, but notable guys that came in the top 10 after a lot of these guys. So Henry Davis went 1.9 under slot as 1-1 this past year. Colton Cowser 1.3 under slot. The Orioles underslotted the 5th overall pick. But then you look at a guy like Jordan Lawler, where he signed for $1 million over slot. You look at, 2020, Torque signed at slot value. Heston Kjerstad went to the Orioles again, underslotted the 2nd overall pick, $2.6 million under slot. And then the Blue Jays, they went nearly $1 million over slot value to go get Austin Martin at 5. Like, there has really not been a cut and dry, these are the 5 best players in the draft in recent history, with the exception of 2019, because Rutschman went pretty much right at slot value. And then the rest of the top 5 went right at slot value. That just felt like best player on the board. Let's go grab him and pay him his money.
Yeah. And I would say the equivalent to that across another sport, like the comparison would be, how often are NFL or NBA drafts not trading picks in the top 5? I mean, it's still probably more often that you see guys underslotted, but it's pretty frequent when we'll see one of the picks traded in the top 5. Underslotting a pick in the top 5 is essentially trading back, right? Because you have a finite amount of money in your bonus pool, which is based on what selections you have. And let's say for round numbers, it's 10 million, and you want to go under slot with that first pick. You have way more money to work with in the other selections to convince guys to not go to college and sign that second round high schooler for what is $1 million, maybe over slot and maybe first round slot value. So it gives you another first round pick almost, and it allows you to be strategic with it. So like at the end of the day, if you really, really like a guy in the draft, you could probably weasel your way up there and overslot like a Jordan Lawler and be able to get them at number 6, right? Like you could still pull that off unless a team ahead of you is that also infatuated with the player. So it still doesn't totally change things for teams. And that's why I like it even more. It's teams will still be able to really make a move if they really want to. But at the end of the day, it de-incentivizes tanking a little bit. It adds another spectacle to baseball. And hell, dude, I'm here for like the number 11 pick in the draft, or the number 11 probability getting the number 1 pick. Like that stuff's always hilarious. And I'm here for that kind of stuff.
Dude, you have no idea how excited the city of Chicago was when they landed 1-1 for Derrick Rose. Like I'm sure you remember that type of fiasco. Like it was amazing because I think it was like a 0.5% probability that the Bulls were going to land the number 1 pick and get their guy, get the guy from Inglewood, get the guy that went to Simeon and Derrick Rose. And like, they got it. I mean, that was such excitement.
Of course, I remember that. I'm a Miami Heat fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Michael Beasley, too.
Michael Beasley at 2.
Man, how about
OJ
that?
Mayo at 3.
Jeez. That was kind of a mess of a draft, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I want to do a fun exercise here because I just want to show you how much of a crapshoot the number 1 overall pick is in each of these sports. I went back to, let's see what year I went back to, 2010. I'm going to run through the number 1 overall picks in the MLB, the NBA, and the NFL. And I want you to count the number of guys who were not busts, but underperformers, guys who underperformed.
Okay.
Cool. You want to start with the MLB?
With MLB? Sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to rattle through these quick fire. I think there's 12 going back to 2010. And at the end, I want you to tell me how many guys you counted that have been underwhelmers.
Okay.
Henry Davis, Spencer Torkelson, Adley Rutschman, Casey Mize, Royce Lewis, Mickey Moniak, Dansby Swanson, Brady Aiken, Mark Capelle, Carlos Correa, Garrett Cole, Bryce Harper.
4
How many you count?
and
4?
a half. And a half.
4.5. So Appel and Aiken, 1, 2. Moniak and Royce Lewis, 3, 4. And then who are you saying is a half? Mize?
Like, I wouldn't even count Mize. So yeah, I'll go 4.
4. Okay. Let's do the NBA now. Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson, DeAndre Ayton, Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, John Wall.
2
Two.
And the craziest part is Zion is that's the craziest part is Zion in that vote. Not yet, but kind of scary. He was phenomenal out of the gate. Yeah, I mean, it's not even close, right? Like, I mean, all of these NBA guys, aside from the only really, really disastrous one is Anthony Bennett, like really, really disastrous. And a lot of these other guys, I mean, they're impact dudes. And even if you say like, oh, well, Andrew Wiggins wasn't the number one pick, he's an all-star this year. And regardless, has had a great career and he's going to make over $100 million. I think he already has. So it's crazy. Even the worst ones, even Markelle Fultz, right? Like he's out this year. I still think he's going to be a fine NBA player for a
100%.
while. Whereas when you miss with Mark Capelle, it's just like that guy doesn't even crack the big leagues.
Yeah,
like that's the difference. Yeah, that's the difference.
And then let's finish with the NFL here. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Jadeveon Clowney, Eric Fisher, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Sam Bradford.
2.
Are you counting Bradford and Goff? Are those the two?
Goff. I'm counting Goff, not Bradford.
Yeah, I wouldn't count Bradford either. Are you counting Eric Fisher?
I think Eric Fisher was fine.
He was a Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowl tackle.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Goff?
Just Goff and
Clowney?
No, Clowney's been fine.
Yeah.
Like Clowney has given you some good years. That's the thing too, is because these sports you're going straight to the league, but these guys have still been impact players. I mean, look, has Clowney been what we were hoping? No, he's still a 3-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's insane. I mean, a 3-time All-Star in baseball, you're happy with the number 1 pick there. So, you know, we're under. Like, I know that it's apples to oranges, but the point is, the draft is the draft, and every sport has the same draft process for the most part in terms of just 30 or 32 teams, and you pick an order, and the worst teams pick first, right? That's how it works. But we had a lottery in the NBA. We don't have a lottery in football. So it's a little bit different in that regard. I'm here for it because it's such a crapshoot anyways. Like, let's make it a little bit more fun, and let's de-incentivize teams just sucking. I think it's a pretty crazy exercise to go through the number 1 picks each year. And baseball, man, I mean, number 1, I think, is worse than number 2. I think if you went number 2 through the years, it might be better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we can do that over the last, who did I do that for? I did that through 2017. Let's do it. Jack Leiter, Heston Kjerstad, Bobby Witt Jr., Alec Boehm, Joey Bart, Hunter Green. Like, all those guys have the possibility of being really good.
Yeah. Well, several of them are better than the guy that was picked ahead of them.
Yeah, and then you look at the NBA too. Jalen Green, James Wiseman, Ja Morant, Marvin Bagley, Lonzo Ball. Only 1 flop there. I mean,
and like hardly, and like Bagley still is fine.
Yeah, Bagley's still fine. Like, that's the thing. So with the MLB, like, here's the thing. Missing on a guy in the NBA, Anthony Bennett is like the all-time miss, like worst ever.
Yeah.
And he still gave you like, I don't know, 50 games in that uniform. Like, he gave you a couple of 10-point outings. Missing on Brady Aiken is like that guy doesn't get past high A. Missing on Mark Capelle, like that guy never makes the big leagues.
He gives you 0, nothing.
That is a legitimate like flounder, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot. Like, if I went back to 2000, I mean, we're looking at guys like Matt Bush, who was out of the league because he was arrested, and now he's playing a different position. And then you look at guys like Tim Beckham, who still isn't the worst because he was a Major League Baseball player. Like,
he might come back.
So many examples. Who'd you say? Tim
Beckham might come back too.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you're looking at Luke Hochshaber. Wasn't he a first overall pick?
Yeah. I mean, what about the Pirates guy? Pitcher, shoot.
Who are you talking about?
That's gonna kill me.
Huh.
It's something with a B. It's gonna drive me nuts.
Just Google it. But I've got another point here, because like, it's a wide array of people who flounder here. Like, you're looking at prep pitcher Brady Aiken. He floundered. You're looking at prep outfielder Mickey Moniak. He floundered. You're looking at prep shortstop Rice Lewis. He floundered. Okay, now let's go to college. College pitcher Mark Capelle. He floundered. Like, there are so many guys that just don't pan out here.
Ball State legend Brian Bullington.
Yeah, that's right.
1-1, 2002. 1-1. Oh my gosh, the Pirates draft's kind of funny. Paul Maholm in 2003, number 8 overall.
Yeah, wow.
Pedro Alvarez, number 2 overall in 2008.
Damn.
That's kind of a hit, though.
Kind of a hit.
Which
That's
is crazy.
It's all
if
relative.
they get to the big leagues, it's a hit. Like it's a hit. Because the odds are really stacked against them. But yeah, I mean, I think we agree that it's good. What about the side of drafting with the pools? It would make, or trading draft picks, excuse me. With the bonus pools, it would make things a little bit confusing. But I guess you could just plug and play with the bonus pool money of the selections that you trade. I kind of like it. I'm here for some trading draft picks, although there has to be a limit, maybe, because you could accumulate like a $30 million draft bonus pool, right? Like I could trade a bunch of role players for draft picks and accumulate a crazy amount of bonus pool money, and then just run the draft. Like imagine if the Thunder draft capital was translated into bonus pool money. Now you legit run the draft. So that would be the only issue, right? You'd have to have some sort of limitation, like a cap. You can't get over 15 million or whatever it is. You can't get over 20 million in bonus pool money, something like that. But other than that, I think it would make sense.
You know what would be awesome is multi-layered trades. So you've got prospect for draft pick or something like that. Hey, let's swap picks. And you also get this fringe top 20 guy in my organization. That would be awesome. Or how about at the deadline, getting a savvy vet in the bullpen, like a 7th inning guy, and you say, hey, you get my first round pick or you get my second round pick. That would be awesome. And that adds a new layer that has been so exciting with the NBA and the NFL. The NFL, a little bit less so, because for some reason you see like these washed stars getting conditional 7th round picks. Like
that football trades are the worst.
Football trades are the worst, but like basketball, it's like, holy shit, let's see how much fun we can have here. And I think baseball can tap into that.
Well, and we see a little bit of how the picks also help trades happen, because there's situations where you don't know what the value, like you're trying to just get a little piece that's going to even things out a little bit. And a lot of teams might not have that in between prospects. Like there's top heavy systems where outside of the top 5, the guys don't have enough value. And in the top 5, they're too good to trade. And that's why we don't see as many trades. But you look at the Randy Arozarena deal for Matthew Liberatore. They also had a competitive balance round B pick, which is the 63rd overall pick, to St. Louis as part of that deal to get a Arozarena. Like that's the like little thing that put it over the top to make the deal happen. You can trade competitive balance picks and that's it. Like that will allow for more trades and more ability to just make things happen because it gives you just another asset, which I love.
Yeah. And let's say the Padres want Dylan Floro. They're not going to give up one of their top 4 guys, right? Or like, let's say the White Sox want a platoon right fielder. They have nobody in the system to trade from.
Yeah.
So it's either big league guys or brand new idea, light bulb here, draft picks. What if they trade their first round pick for a good right fielder? Like that is enticing.
Yep. I love it. I really hope that they do this, because once again, it would be better for baseball in that regard. And you look at the Orioles or some teams like that, like teams will want to do that because they get to pick their own prospects, right? If there's a team that you want to trade with, a team that really wants your player and they're going to give up a lot more, but they don't have prospects that you like, it gives you another opportunity to be able to still trade with that team that wants them. They're going to give you more. I like it all around, because let's say the Orioles are going to trade somebody and the White Sox want that player the most, but some other teams are like, oh yeah, but you're not going to get any good prospects from them. We'll give you one of our like 6th or 7th ranked prospects, but we're not going to give you more than that. And the White Sox want them way more. The Orioles, who are a rebuilding team that need all the help in the world, can say, no, give me your first round freaking pick. And the White Sox will be like, damn, I mean, we got nothing else. Like, sure, here you go. We don't want to trade, our top guy. And they trade their first round pick instead. Like it allows the Orioles to have more leverage in these situations too, because they have more assets that they can demand. So and then I'm here for it across the board.
And then all of a sudden the Diamondbacks can look like the Oklahoma City Thunder, where they just stockpile.
They'd be the team to do it, I think.
I think so too.
I like it.
Fun, man. It would be fun. And I think that it would be a great conversation. And selfishly, it would make the trade deadline a ton of fun for us.
And it'd make the draft a blast. I mean, the Mets to a degree will have that this year with like 50 picks because they drafted Kumar Rocker with no intention of signing him. And then I forget what the other situations are that gave them more picks. They're going to have a ton of picks this year. Like, it's going to be fun for Mets fans. This draft will be a blast. You have like several picks back to back.
Yeah. 100%. I also decided to wear my Oakland A's shirt because I just wanted to celebrate that this was the team that drafted Kyler Murray 9th overall.
Yeah, I was looking at that one. That draft is the singular craziest, I think.
That was what? That was India 5th.
Yeah, the 2018 draft, right?
2018 top 5 picks were Mize, Bart, Bohm, Madrigal, India.
Then Kelnick, Weathers, Carter Stewart, who's now pitching in Japan.
Yeah.
Right. So Carter Stewart just said, screw it, I'm not signing because they had some issue with his physical. And I think he got like 20 million to go to Japan. And then the very next pick is a guy who played football. Like Japan and football back to back. Pretty crazy.
In the top 10. Like, that doesn't happen in other sports. It is the top 10.
In the top 10. And the worst part about it for the A's is that Kyler Murray signed. So like they didn't get a comp pick back. They didn't get the Kumar Rocker pick back as Kyler signed. They own the rights to Kyler Murray. Kyler wanted to say, like, I'm playing baseball. The Oakland A's own the rights to him. So what sucks about that is that they don't get a comp pick. So they actually threw away the 9th overall pick in the draft. Billy Beane threw away the number 9 pick. That's pretty nuts.
It's nuts. I don't know why that happened. Like,
they knew there was a chance and they let him play football, right? The draft was before that season that he basically solidified himself as number 1. Yes. And which is a worst case scenario. They wanted to be good and just be like, all right, yeah, we want you to be happy, Kyler, play football this year, enjoy it. And then we'll see you on the baseball field. And he won the freaking Heisman. So, I mean, it's funny how that worked out. Unfortunate for them. I wouldn't have let him play football for multiple reasons. God forbid he gets hurt. Or on the other end, I guess it was the best case scenario for Kyler, but he plays so well that he's a number 1 overall pick. And now you have nothing to show for that 9th selection. They could have got Travis Swaggerty instead with the next pick.
Some options here. What else? We got Giants top 10 coming out today on the call up.
It's out now. And the call up, we will be going down that whole top 10 list because I think there's some surprises. Joey Bart, not in the top 5, some things like that. So you and I will be going through that on the episode, but the list is out too. So definitely check that out. I'm pumped about that.
Cool beans. Pete and I will talk to you tomorrow.